So the President Trump is obviously has already put tariffs on Canada, Mexico, and even more on China. And interesting thing, I look at the tariffs as kind of a distraction for what's really going on behind the scenes. And I think the president's using tariffs as a way to bring back business to the United States, which is, in my opinion, his number one goal. He wants to see manufacturing back into the U. Brought back into the U.S. He wants to see companies opening up facilities back to the U.S. And he's going to use tariffs as a bit of a scare tactic. If you don't bring business into the U.S. or if you don't want to be tariffed, then you have to, invest in the United States. But aside from that, he's also doing other things, such as talking about cutting taxes, deregulation, removing more and more red tape, making things even easier for businesses to come back to the US. And in my opinion, in order for us in Canada to compete with the US, compete for foreign investment, compete for foreign business, compete for those dollars, we're going to have to cut taxes. There's just no other way around it. And I think all of you watching today would probably agree our tax rates in the country are just way too high to be competitive corporately, individually. And we need to cut regulation as well. We need to make things a lot easier to do business between provinces, do business in general. And I think if we do that, that to me would be the best scenario to combat what's going on with our neighbors to the south. Our first chart here, potential U.S. policy changes. We have some, as you'll see in a moment. On the left-hand side, there they are. Key policies on tariffs, immigration, fiscal policy, which is, the Trump tax cuts. He wants to extend them and even increase them. Deregulation. On the right-hand side of this chart, talks about the fundamental impact of these policies. So fundamental impact of tariffs. Well, it's going to have economic impact. Prices are going to go up. It could slow down growth initially. Immigration. We've heard that the president is deporting many illegals or those that are doing illegal things in the United States back to where they came from. And will that have an impact on the jobs? Will that have an impact on the workforce and therefore be inflationary? Fiscal policy, tax cuts, how will that affect business earnings, people's earnings? Obviously, if we're paying less taxes, we are making more money. And last but not least, deregulation. Will that have an impact on interest rates and what the Fed does? All this, I think, will have an impact on what the Federal Reserve does. I think all this will have an impact on what the Bank of Canada does. And there's talk that Bank of Canada will perhaps lower interest rates quicker if tariffs remain on Canada for a longer period of time. If it's short-lived, then the Bank of Canada probably won't react. The longer-lived tariffs, I think, could have an impact on both the Federal Reserve and Bank of Canada. So to be competitive with the U.S., I think we have to look at, our federal government, whoever it's going to be in the months ahead. We will have an election. Whoever wins, I believe, needs to look at tax cuts, reducing taxes, income tax, and taxes on our businesses to remain competitive so that we can be competitive on a global scale.